gone deeper into Old Vilza now. I've had to get a tram right to the end of the line, and now I need to get a bus to take me even further up. It's not easy getting a tram when you're out in their sticks in Poznan. Not all the tram stops have ticket machines, so I've had to walk about 3 tram stops to find one that did. I think this might be my bus, 175. So I'm really in the suburbs now. So this is what the suburbs of Poznan look like. Oh, this is a nice neighbourhood. It's one thing that gives you away as a tourist, more than the fact that I'm walking around with a camera, is not being able to speak any Polish. Oh, do I go down there? Yes, I do. Where am I bloody going in? Well, that little walk through the woods seems to have brought me out next to a lake. It's actually quite nice. It's not quite as scary as I first thought. That's corn, isn't it? Yeah. The cornfields of Poznan. Am I even still in Poznan? Well, the houses have started to look a lot nicer. This one here's got a huge garden. Hammocks out in the back. Little pool. Barbecue. Nice. And look at this, another one. Look at the size of the garden. I've not even told you what I'm doing here, have I? So, yesterday I went to visit Fort 7, which was the first concentration camp set up by the Germans in Poland. And having been there, then I discovered that there was another place where I think a lot of the people from Fort 7 were then sent to this place, and it's down here. It's when I got off the bus, it said it was a 16 minutes walk. I'm basically straight down here, and then it should appear. It's only supposed to be a small museum, but I thought it'd be worth checking out, see another little bit of the Nazi history in Poland. Look at some of this garden. It goes on forever. People think of Poland and they think of these ugly grey kind of Soviet style buildings, high-rise buildings, but you don't realise that there are lots of parts of Poland really beautiful. Well, I'm just a couple of minutes away from the museum, and I don't know if this is part of it. That does look like some kind of old barracks, these things around here. There's a monument up there, and I can't work out what it is. One of the words here looks like the word cemetery, maybe, I don't know, my Polish is terrible, so basically I think, judging by Google Maps, is that this building over here to the left is the museum. Now that does look very small, and it also doesn't look very open, so I might have just spent the best part of an hour and a half coming to the edges of Poznan to basically just look at a few houses. Well, we'll see. Well, according to Google Maps, this is it. I don't know anything about this bus. I didn't even know it existed until yesterday. I mean, there's literally nothing else around here. There's a nursery and a few houses, and that's it. Oh, this is definitely it. So these are some of the stones. I don't know if I can't see any dates on them, so I don't know if these are memorial to people who died here, or whether these are old Jewish gravestones that were destroyed, mostly used by the Nazis to build roads. Well, we've got 1828 to 1895, so that's probably what it will be. Right, let's have a look. This is basically all the names of the concentration camps that people from Poznan and the surrounding area were sent to. They all look like very small ones. There's none that I recognise. If you want to find out information about them, for example, let's have a look at this one. It goes over. You press the button, and you get all the information on the TV, which is really cool. So it tells you what's left there. So it says there's no visible remains. It was entirely a Jewish camp, and there's just a monument in the former grounds of the camp. So the prisoners were sent here to build the highways until 1943. It says that many bodies are still buried along the highway. So a lot of these smaller camps were closed quite early, perhaps only open for a year or so before it was closed, and then the prisoners moved on to other camps. The one I just looked at, all the prisoners moved on to another camp and then were sent to Auschwitz. So it looks like Rippon's got quite a few things to go and look at. Some of the barracks have been preserved, and there's a couple of monuments, a Jewish cemetery. One of the camps, the exact location is unknown, and some of these camps there's just nothing there at all. So again, just opened just over a year, just under 2 years. It was an entirely Jewish camp. There's no form of commemoration of the camp, but there's a monument in the market square. These are all what was known as highway camps, and this is where Jews were sent to these small camps to build the highways. You can see here this is the remains of a highway connecting Frankfurt to Poznan. It's built by Jewish prisoners. This is a cement works where remains of Jewish prisoners from a nearby camp were discovered in the 1980s. Many people initially wanted to sign up because they thought it would be a better life than inside the ghetto, but news quickly came back to the ghetto in which that the camps were no safer, and in a lot of cases were much worse. So then people were forced to go and work in the camps. And that's a picture of the Jews in the stadium that I was in earlier on today. Lots of pictures here of the Jews, and the information talks about how the Jews were worked to death. That was the policy. The Jews were not paid. The Łódź ghetto was paid by various companies. And here we've got some of the paperwork. So prisoners were given one slice of bread per day, and a litre of soup, but the soup would pretty much be water and potato peel. And when it was being dished out, if it was given out roughly, some of it spilt on the ground, and people would lick the soup up off the ground, and then the guards would beat them up for holding up the queue. These are the execution of Jewish escapees, which they used to take place in the city stadium in Poznan, and all the Jews from nearby camps would be brought to witness it, to act as a deterrent. And here is where local Polish peasants would risk their lives and the lives of their families, leaving sacks of potatoes near the camp. And Arthur Geiser, who fiercely opposed the Germanization of the Polish population. He wanted the Polish people to basically leave. He didn't want any Polish culture. Polish language was limited, and the Poles pretty much became slaves to the Germans. They were obliged to work as servants. From all Poles between 14 and 55 if you're a woman, and 70 if you're a man. So when people first arrived at Zobakowie, they would be stripped naked, and then they would have their hair very roughly cut, and then they would pour freezing cold water and then hot water in turn, and then they would put this disinfectant on, which would be really painful, and then they would have a freezing cold bath and be deloused, and then have to stand waiting naked in the freezing cold for some clothes, which sometimes took hours. So it's in how some of the work was just unnecessary and didn't serve any purpose. Prisoners would fill whole boxes with gravel and then carry the boxes to the other side of the camp, where they would empty it and then fill the boxes back up and carry them back. So here it discusses all the treatment of the prisoners in the camp, and it still never fails to shock, no matter how many times and how many stories I've read about some of the things that used to happen to the prisoners in these camps. And this one, at lunchtime, a cook would give out soup with everything inside: unpeeled potatoes, potato peels, rotting carrots. The cook demanded that the bowl be placed exactly at the edge of the pot. If someone placed the bowl incorrectly, then instead to the bowl he poured hot soup on the person's head. Right, so this is the actual camp then, the remains of the camp. As you can see, there's not much left, just the fencing, the outer fencing, poles for the fencing, and this is people. They used to put people in there as punishment. People would be in there for days. You can see another one of them punishment towers over there, and there's another one here. So was it worth coming to the museum, taking a tram to the end of the line and then a bus out into the middle of God knows where? Definitely. It's a small museum, but that's not a problem, because it means you can actually take everything in. I've spent a couple of hours in there, I think. It's interesting because a lot of people go to the big camps, you know, like Auschwitz and Sachsenhausen, but there's literally hundreds of these small camps all over Poland. Some of them there's nothing there at all. It's just not even ruins, everything's just gone. Some of them they don't even know exactly where the camp is. But this one, obviously there's not a great deal left, but the museum keeps the history and the memories of the people that suffered here alive. People suffered here just as much as they did in any of the other camps. Right, so I think I'm going to try and make my way back to Poznan now. I'm presuming I'll just come back the way I came. It's getting a bit chilly out here as well. Check this place out. It's a little known museum, but it's definitely worth a visit.